them for making this a reality. Thanks to our outreach partners from NASSCOM to Startup India to HICC to ISP. In addition, big thanks to Sri Arvind Kumar, IAS Special Chief Secretary, Municipal Administration and Urban Development for his support in promoting TiE Global Summit 2022. Murli and I, as co-chairs, have put together a fantastic set of events. From great content, knowledge to networking events. Look forward to everyone's active participation. I thank Murli for his commitment and inspirational leadership to TiE Hyderabad and the global ecosystem. With that, welcome again, everyone. Welcome to Telangana, welcome to Hyderabad, welcome to the TiE Global Summit. Look forward to interacting with all of you. Please reach out to us for anything that you need. We're here to kind of make this a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request co-chair Mr. Murali Bokkapatnam to address the gathering.
Swagatam, Antah Prerana Sarvabhauma, Swagatam, Suswagatam. It is a great pleasure for us, the members of TiE Hyderabad, the Working Committee of TiE Global Summit, the Board of Trustees of TiE Global, together with the Government of Telangana, to host the 7th TiE Global Summit in Hyderabad. Seriously, I hope you all had the fantastic coffee and tea, the high tea which was served just before this, because I am intending to give a little longer speech than what I normally do. It is not that it is such a common thing for me in my life that my brother KTR Ramarao listens to me while I'm speaking in front of my wife and my son. Anna, thank you, so you do have to bear with me. But first and foremost, I want to express my sincere gratitude for making this TiE Global Summit happen in Hyderabad. I remember in 2017, when we had Global Entrepreneurship Summit in this great city of Hyderabad, about 8 or 9 of our Global Board of Trustees had a luncheon meeting with our Honorable Minister KTR Ramarao Garu at HICC KTR. The only one thing which he asked me is, Murli, you speak about TiE, you speak about having 60 chapters, you speak about having 19 countries. When can I see your TiE Global Summit in this city of Hyderabad? And that is when I promised, Anna, it will be in next few years, you will see this TiE Global Summit. And right then and there, he had instructed to our dear Principal Secretary, to Jayesh Ranjan Garu, to extend whatever the support which TiE Global needs to ensure that TiE Global Summit happens here in Hyderabad. I do want to thank immediate past chairman of Global Board of Trustees, Praveen Thailam, for considering the TiE Hyderabad proposal of hosting. And I do want to thank our past president, Suresh Reddy, to putting that proposal and bringing the TiE Global Summit to Hyderabad. It is not easy to pull such a mammoth summit in such a city where it is not a Bangalore, where it is not Delhi, where it is not Bombay. But we are convinced that under the dynamic leadership of KTR Ramarao Garu, that Hyderabad is no less. Anna, the witness of this people today, the audience, shows to you that the TiE Global is willing to travel the distance which you want us to travel. Today, for the very first time in the history of TiE Global, we have 48 chapters represented here in Hyderabad. We have more than 700 charter members who have registered. So my appeal to the fellow entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship is not easy, but make sure that next 2.5 days, you're going to meet some rockstar entrepreneurs from all over the world, the thought leaders, the researchers who have walked this path before, and make sure that you have a coffee with them. We have put together one of the largest TiE mentoring launches, which we call as a TiE Nurture Launch. Thanks to my friend, Kiran, We have put a 4,000 square feet space where at a point of time 100 charter members can network and get the networking going with these 700 charter members who have traveled to Hyderabad. Why do we become entrepreneurs? The question fascinates me. Why do we let ourselves be drawn by this enchantress who tempts us, beguiles us, captivates us? All excuses that coverage into one and one reason only, that we want to leave a footprint behind, and leaving a footprint behind, we are seeking immortality. In the past, we used to seek immortality through our sons. And I say it because my son is here. The Sanskrit word putra, which means son, the Sanskrit word putra, which means son, comes from the word put, which means hell. So the putra means one who relieves us from that sin. But that is by seeking the immortality. The times and dimes have changed. Now we seek immortality by becoming entrepreneurs. To a big round of applause to all the entrepreneurs who are seeking the immortality. We are that entrepreneurs who are inspired from within, magical thinkers we are. Last but not the least, I want to leave you all with this. Utsaham, sahasam, dhairyam, buddhi, shakti, parakrama, shadyate yatra tissanti tatra devopi tissati. Enthusiasm, adventurous spirit, courage, intelligence, energy and boldness, wherever these qualities are prevalent, God is sure to be present there. I can assure you that all these qualities are present in my city and the city of Hyderabad. Please come be the entrepreneur in this Hyderabad. I welcome you all to the Thai Global Summit 2022. Have a rocking time for the next 48 hours. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir, for that fiery address. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request the Thai Global Chairman, Mr. B.J. Arun, to please address the gathering.
Good evening and welcome to everybody. It's my absolute privilege to actually be a part of Thai Global Summit in wonderful Hyderabad. We have heard so much about the entrepreneurial zeal of Hyderabad, led by Honorable KTR Garu, and we are experiencing this firsthand. So I've been a part of Thai now for 30 years, and Thai is a 30-year-old organization. My home chapter is the Thai Silicon Valley chapter. And 30 years ago, there was still very much a glass ceiling in the US. And so a handful of people, had broken through this glass ceiling. And one of them actually is here. Kanwal Rekhi is the founder of Thai. And once they had broken through this glass ceiling, they said, okay, how do we help our fellow entrepreneurs? What can we do for them? So either they could sort of write checks and do charity, but instead they said, you know what? Let's teach other people, other entrepreneurs, how to create value. So Thai was founded on the premise that, creating value or creating wealth through informed entrepreneurship is a noble endeavor. So over the last 30 years, my predecessors have already talked about how we are now in 14 countries with 57 chapters. We recently had KPMG do a study on the impact Thai has had. And we have actually computed that over $1 trillion of value has been created by the Thai network. That's a significant number. $1 trillion is, about a third of India's GDP. And so that's what one organization has founded and helped create. And so moving forward, I think, we have fairly audacious goals. Where do we go now after 3 decades of having done this? And, we actually are dreaming so big that we want to help create 1,000 startups, 1 million startups. And so we've already maybe impacted 25, 50,000 startups, but we want to aspire for 1 million startups by the end of this decade. And for India particularly, I think by 2047, which is the 100th anniversary of our independence, we'd like to try and aspire for a really audacious number, like 10 million startups. And I think, it's definitely possible. Right now is a very, very fertile environment for entrepreneurship in India, and we're super excited, and we'd love to support fellow entrepreneurs, kind of down this journey. So with that, I'm actually not going to speak too much today because we have some wonderful speakers we are waiting. We'd like to hear from the Honorable, Minister as well as Mr. Shantanu Narayan. So I think I'd like to kind of cede the rest of my time to have these amazing speakers go next. Thank you, and welcome again.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request a guest of honor, Mr. Shantanu Narayan, CEO Adobe Systems, to talk about the digital ecosystems.
I think what that was about was a little bit about Adobe. I think it was supposed to be played a little bit later, but first let me just start off by saying good evening and welcome, and let you know what a privilege and pleasure it is to be back in my hometown. I hope some of you still call me Manavadu, in terms of having grown up here in Hyderabad. When BJ Arun asked me if I would come to Hyderabad for the Thai Global Summit, I immediately said yes, because nothing gives me greater pleasure than in coming back to the city where I grew up. And first and foremost, let me talk a little bit about Thai and the work that they do. It truly is amazing, as he said, the fact that they are created $1 trillion of wealth, the fact that they're creating 1 million startups, I think just reflects their passion to give back to the community. These are individuals who are all incredibly successful in their right, and I think the fact that they have this passion to give back to the community is truly amazing. So thank you, Thai, for having me here today. I think the spirit of Ignite, the spirit of nurture, and the spirit of grow is something, having grown up here and having gone to school here, used to all talk about digital literacy being the thing that was important, but now the fact that when you have a brilliant idea, that you can have access to capital, you can have access to talent, I think that just speaks so much to the opportunity that exists here in Hyderabad and frankly in India. Having been to the States right now, I would have said that if I was growing up right now, there is no way that I would leave Hyderabad to go to the States, because it feels like what my friend, and maybe I can call you my friend, KTR Garu, and what Jayesh Ranjan have done is created this incredible, vibrant environment here in Hyderabad. It was, I think, just a few years ago when they both invited me to come and see T-Hub, and to be able to see that the entrepreneurial spirit, they wanted to make sure that Hyderabad was the place where people could come with an idea, access to capital, and create these amazing companies. And he was just telling me about we finally are putting things in space as it relates to these companies. And I really believe right now, when you think about what's happening with digital, that the confluence of where technology is, where medicine is, where education is, and where technology is, there's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. So for all of you here in the audience who are entrepreneurs, it's amazing. Don't ever take the status quo as an answer not to pursue your dreams. And again, such a privilege to be back in Hyderabad, and such a privilege to be here on stage with these folks. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. It is indeed a privilege for us also to have you here on this stage. Ladies and gentlemen, before I invite our chief guest to address the gathering, let's have a look at the AV of the city that we have been talking so much about. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together one more time as I invite on stage to address the gathering the Honorable Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Shivani. Good evening. Firstly, I'd like to welcome Shantanu, who's a dear friend, a fellow Hyderabadi. Yes, Manavadu. Thank you, Manavadu Shantanu. I think he deserves a big round of applause for all the things that he's been doing, for making us all proud, on a global stage. Thank you, Shantanu. Thank you, Arun. Thank you for inviting us. Thank you, for choosing Hyderabad. Of course, to Suresh, to Murali, for persevering through everything that you had to go through to ensure that this event becomes a huge success. My compliments on bringing in more than 48 chapters of tie to this beautiful city of Hyderabad. To my Principal Secretary, Jayesh Ranjan, to all the distinguished, gathering here. I see a lot of friends, I see a lot of diplomats, including Jennifer. I mean, lots and lots of people who we have met over the last few years. Thank you very much for coming all the way to Hyderabad. Before I, speak about the event itself, let me quickly add, Murali, your speech was nice, by the way. And I'm sure your son and your wife were truly impressed, but you have to start writing speeches for me. Thank you. Because all the Telugu that you threw in, all the Sanskrit, all the sayings, brilliantly done, brilliantly packaged. Before I say anything about the event, let me quickly add. Now, the new state of Telangana, we are the youngest state in India. In fact, the state of Telangana was founded in 2014 on the 2nd of June. It's been 8.5 years. And as was pointed out in the AV, the state of Telangana has been doing some truly amazing things. Our per capita income has risen by almost 130%. Our gross state domestic product, the GSDP, has also risen by almost 130%. Our IT exports have risen by 250%, and our agriculture activity has expanded by 119%. Our green cover, our forest area has also increased from 24% to 31.7% of the geographical area. Our contribution to India's GDP, in terms of numbers, just to give you and just to put things in perspective, if I have to sum up Telangana's story in a nutshell. Geographically, we are the 11th largest state in India. Population-wise, we are the 12th largest state in India. But in terms of contribution to India's economy, India's GDP, we are the 4th largest state in India. We are only 2.5% of India's population, but our contribution to India's GDP is 5%. So this is literally like a 50-kilo boxer punching in a 100-kilo category. That's what we do. We punch double our weight. That's what Telangana is for you. I call my state the most successful startup of independent India. The last 75 years after India's independence, there are several things that have been done in Telangana, which unfortunately have not happened anywhere else in India. I don't know, for those of you who are from various parts of the world, let me tell you, since we are just about coming out of the pandemic, let me tell you that 1/3 of human vaccines produced globally are made in Hyderabad, made in Telangana. 9 billion doses of vaccines are manufactured from Telangana. Come next year, this number is going to increase. In fact, the 9 billion doses number is going to go up to 14 billion doses. That will be about 50% of global vaccine production happening from one single province, one single city, that is Hyderabad. Let me also tell you that not only in life sciences, but even in technology, we have the who's who of the technology world all in Hyderabad. And not just in terms of their presence, but we have their second largest campuses anywhere in the world. In fact, most of the US technology companies, if you look at the top 5, top 10, or even top 20, almost all of their second largest bases are right here in the city of Hyderabad. You take any of them, Apple, Google, Meta, Microsoft. Our dear friend Satya heads Microsoft. He's also gone to the same school as Shantanu, the Hyderabad Public School. And also Uber, Salesforce, Micron, Qualcomm, ServiceNow, who you have introduced to us. All of their second largest campuses in the world are in this beautiful city of Hyderabad. I think you see where I'm going with this, right? Adobe only has 100 people, so therefore I'm pitching to Shantanu that he should also make Hyderabad. And I should be adding Adobe's name every time I speak, every time I pitch to any investor across the world. I want to tell them that my dear friend Shantanu also chose Hyderabad for his second largest campus. And I know you're going to Bangalore day after tomorrow. Let me also tell you, it's not going to be a breeze walking in and out of Bangalore just the way it is in Hyderabad. You will see it yourself, you will experience it yourself. And in case you need a chopper to ferry you from the airport to wherever you're going, I can send you one from Telangana government. But let me also, I don't want to trash Bangalore too much. I'm sure there are Bangaloreans here. I saw Vani Kola somewhere. Vani, you should move to Hyderabad, wherever you are. I think you should move to Hyderabad very, very soon, along with Kalari Capital's team, lock, stock, and barrel. But, jokes apart, given the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world we all live in, innovation is a critical means by which countries, cities, states can create and sustain competitive advantage and drive inclusive growth. Entrepreneurs create economic value and need to be motivated, cultivated, and nurtured to the greatest degree. My friend Murali called entrepreneurship an enchantress, and that too right in front of your wife. I don't know how well that went, but I'll leave that for later. Webster's dictionary defines an ecosystem as a complex of a community of organisms and its environment functioning as an ecological unit. An innovation ecosystem is a term used to describe the various players, stakeholders, and community members that are critical for innovation. TIE, as an initiative, has been a brilliant success story since its inception in 1992, about 30 years ago. And it is truly a model in creating a nurturing ecosystem for entrepreneurs across the world. So my compliments to the entire team of TIE for this brilliant journey over the last 30 years. I think you guys deserve a big round of applause. TIE has also played an active role in engaging with the Telangana government and also the Telangana innovation ecosystem. And their support has been critical in helping us with the primary objective of building the best-in-class advisory services and resources for our entrepreneurs, which may include but not limited to subject matter experts, mentorship, education, technology and product support, global expansion, business network, sources of financing, markets and media exposure, connections to venture capital and private equity investors, and the list goes on. We are, as I said, we like to believe, and we take a lot of pride in this. We are a startup state. Now, we work with the bent of mind of a startup. We're agile when it comes to progressive policies. We're agile when it comes to policy making. We take a lot of pride in building and in enabling an innovation ecosystem. T-Hub, T-Works, V-Hub, TSIC, RICH, Task, NCAM, Emerging Technologies, and Image. All of these are various entities created by the government of Telangana over the last 8 years in terms of ensuring that our youngsters, that our young innovators and young entrepreneurs have a platform to chase their dreams. As Shantanu put it, this is a time, I think, unlike any other, where a youngster can, without even thinking twice, without having to go to the Bay Area or without having to catch a flight, can pursue their dreams to the fullest by being in Hyderabad, by being in India. With T-Hub, in the last 5 years, it has been a brilliant journey. I was just explaining to Shantanu. The first rocket launched by a private space tech company from India was launched on the 18th of November. It was aptly named after Vikram Sarabhai. And fortunately for us, and it's a matter of great pride for us, that company was incubated, the space tech company was incubated at T-Hub. It is called Skyroot, and they were able to put the rocket into the space in their very first attempt. Even Elon Musk had to try twice, but I think our guys had pulled it off in the very first attempt, and I'm very proud of it.
Likewise, there's another bunch of youngsters here somewhere. They represent a company called Dhruva Space, and they're the first Indian space tech company to have put 3 nanosatellites, they're somewhere here in the audience, 3 nanosatellites into the orbit, exactly 4 days after the first space tech company from Hyderabad sent its first rocket. And this again is a Hyderabad company, this again is a T-Hub company, and super proud of that as well. Today, it's an honor to host the TGS 22 in Hyderabad, and it's a testimony to the power of entrepreneurship, and we take great pride in welcoming all the dignitaries, the delegates, speakers, and guests at the event. As per the Startup Genome Report, Telangana today stands among the top 10 cities in the global ecosystem in affordable talent. We also stand among top 15 in the Asian ecosystem for funding. We also stand in the top 15 in the global ecosystem in the bang for buck category. DPIIT, Government of India's has recognized Telangana as a top performer for developing a strong startup ecosystem in the state. Telangana has also ranked 4th for performance in India Innovation Index report released by the Niti Aayog. Today, Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, America's leading technology startup accelerator, said something about startups that resonated with me. Make something that people want. This is exactly what our Honorable Chief Minister reminds us on a day-to-day basis. Whenever I go and talk to him about technology, whenever I tell him about something new that has really broken through, he has one simple question. He says, does it have a positive societal impact? How will it change the life of a common man in India? He believes very firmly that technology which does not have a positive societal impact is futile. Technology that does not solve real-world problems is merely fancy and is of no use and no appeal. Today, we have more than 6,500 plus startups in Telangana across 50 plus sectors. As I mentioned, India's first space startup in the private sector, Skyroot, was incubated in T-Hub. Darwin Box became a unicorn earlier this year. KK, an HR tech firm, secured India's largest Series A SaaS funding with a 57 million raise. Telangana, of course, will continue to support entities as TIE through our policies, programs, and ecosystem enablers such as T-Hub and other entities. Just like a dandelion, we aim to spread the impact of Indian entrepreneurs across the globe, and I wish that dream, that audacious goal that was mentioned of creating 1 million startups and impacting trillions of dollars of wealth across the world. All the very best. Wishing the entire team of TIE and all the attendees in this beautiful city of Hyderabad all the very best over the next 48 hours. Thank you very much. Jai Telangana. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the most awaited TIE Global Awards 2022, and I'd like to invite Mr. B.J. Arun, Chairman, TIE Global, and Mr. Murli, Vice Chairman, TIE Global, to tell us about TIE Global Award and the awardee.
Hello, guests. 3 years ago, TIE Global instituted Global Awards to recognize the most outstanding entrepreneurs, CXOs of the entrepreneurial ecosystem which we all are aware of. In this regard, in this particular movement, we have one such individual. We have to recognize his outstanding performance. My friend BJ, over to you.
Thank you, Murli. So it's a very, very difficult choice to pick, these awards, because now we have so many people, so many entrepreneurs who have done, well worldwide. And we had a jury, and it was very, very, sort of challenging even for the jury to pick. But we do have our top award that has already been identified and picked. So it's going to be my absolute privilege to announce that this year the CEO of the Year award is going to my good friend Shantanu Narayan of Adobe. Yeah. So Shantanu, I'd like request Honorable Minister KTR Garu to please recognize Shantanu with the award. So at this point, we'll do a short Q&A with Shantanu. He, again, by the way, formal introduction, it's Padma Shri Shantanu. I'm sorry I missed the Padma Shri part. But again, hearing firsthand from a CEO who runs a $150 billion plus market cap company, 40 years old, and one of the most respected software product companies in the world, it'll be a privilege. So Shantanu, if I could please do the Q&A now.
Since it's a Q&A, I thought I'll ask the first question.
When am I going to invest in Hyderabad? Well, again, in terms of, the talent, okay. As actually, you did mention, we do have a presence in India. The India presence was actually set up before I joined the company Adobe in '98. I finished 25 years next year. But, we really feel like this is the place if we were incubating something right now. And so, as I mentioned, I did the second best thing, which is I've at least, introduced Hyderabad to 4 or 5 other CEOs who have all created their presence here. And so we are doing some work in artificial intelligence. As we all know, AI is the one area where the world's going to be changed. It's one of the most tectonic shifts. So that is an area we are investing in Hyderabad.
So I'm going to dive into this, and KTR, feel free to keep asking the questions. Yeah. So Shantanu, this year, Thai Global Summit is in your hometown of Hyderabad. So can we start by talking a little bit about your journey and your background and how you went from Hyderabad to where you are today?
Well, again, as I said, all the privileges that I got were from Hyderabad. I went first to Vidyaranya, which was, as we all know, a very small, nurturing school. And then I went to public school. So I was in public school all the way till I graduated. And I think public school was, one of those places where you got this incredible education. I was the editor of the school magazine. I was in debates. I think I tried to do everything but academics. And then I went to Osmania to do electronics because I was fascinated by what was happening in Osmania. And in my final year here, I think I was really taken up by microprocessors. And so computer science became my passion. And so, in those days, everybody went to the States to study, and I guess I got the opportunities there. But, I think the main thing that I would say about, what you got here is it's the high school education and the college education that teaches you how to think. And for that, I'm really grateful.
Thank you. So Adobe is this year celebrating 4 decades in business, right? 40 years. And Adobe India, I think it's the 25th anniversary year. What underpins the company's success globally as well as in India?
Since all of you are entrepreneurs, the one thing I would say was that Adobe was founded with this fundamental belief that our mission is we want to change the world through digital experiences. And if you think about the video that you're consuming on the internet, the mobile application that you're using, a newspaper that you might read, a magazine, the gaming that happened, I think Adobe revolutionized every aspect of that. And, when we think about it, my goal as CEO is to just say, we cannot be in a position where all we're trying to do is preserve the status quo. And I think entrepreneurship and everything that you're engaged on is never taking no for an answer. And so the company has always found a way. We were the first company on the planet to move to software as a service. We completely transitioned our business model from a desktop business model to a subscription-based business model. We're now in digital marketing. That's become a $4 billion business. So, I think what's characterized Adobe is that we're always willing to look around the corner. We're always willing to make change, and I think that's what is required.
So Shantanu, just touching upon the same topic, 15 years ago, you took over as CEO, and you made one of the boldest moves to go from, to move to a subscription model. How did you get the conviction that you were doing the right thing? Because, I mean, today this is the way software is sold, but back then, I mean, when you're walking away from billions of dollars of perpetual licensing to subscription, did you have any doubts, or how did you get the conviction that you were doing the right thing?
Well, I took over in 2007, and as BJ said, I'm probably one of the more senior tech CEOs right now. And in 2007, I took over. In 2008, we had record revenues. And I said, how hard could this be? Even I can do the job. And then the recession hit in 2009. And the thing that I would always tell, again, entrepreneurs is that a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. So in 2009, when the recession hit, Adobe's revenue fell by about 25% because we were considered a discretionary purchase. And the thing that we were not doing was we were not innovating at the pace at which the market was evolving. Everything was moving to the cloud. Mobile devices were just emerging. And so I remember thinking that as a management team, we all said that we really need to make sure that we can innovate at a faster pace. And when we weren't innovating at a faster pace because of financial accounting standards bodies, you know that something is wrong, because the main thing that you have to all focus on is customers. And I think customers don't always know how to solve their pain point, but they recognize what the pain point was. So, in retrospect, BJ, it was actually a pretty simple decision. We had these traditional 12 or 18-month product cycles. We weren't innovating at the pace at which we needed to innovate. And so we took the bold move at that point of saying we will move to a subscription. And so our revenue dropped again by 25%, because as you pointed out, you don't recognize revenue up front, you recognize it. And so our EPS dropped by 65% in the first year. Now at that point, our market cap went down to about 6 billion. Eventually it got back up. As you said, it's closer to 200 billion. So things worked out. And the good news is, because things worked out, I'm here telling you the story. Otherwise, my successor would be here telling you what a bad idea that was.
No, I think, Shantanu, clearly this is going to be one of the legacies that you'll be remembered for. So congratulations on that. Now, as a leader of a very successful company like Adobe, how do you continue to inspire and motivate teams to achieve their next ambition and to continually keep disrupting?
I think the amazing thing that's going, I mean, you think about the demographics of India, you think about the demographics of Hyderabad. At the end of the day, your biggest real treasure is your people. And if you don't realize, we're in the intellectual property business. And when pre-COVID, when people worked in the office, we used to say our intellectual property goes home every night and hopefully they come back the next day. So the way I think, you try and stay young, the way you try and stay curious, is to really surround yourself by these scary, smart people. And so college hiring is a big thing that we do. We may not have a big presence here yet, but we do hire a lot of people who go for schools here. And so one of the things that I've learned is, by surrounding yourself, what happens, unfortunately, is the most senior you get, very few people tell you that you have bad ideas. Suddenly, all my ideas seem good ideas, except when they're college graduates. And I think it's amazing how much college graduates inspire you by the force of their ideas and by looking around the corner. And so, I try and pay it forward by, if you have somebody who has a good idea. I mean, think about it. What the venture community did amazingly well. What the venture community did amazingly well is, if you have a good idea, all you need is one person to say yes. Somebody like Vani, who knows how to find entrepreneurs. If you say yes, she's going to invest in you. What happens in larger companies is that you have to get everybody to say yes and nobody to say no. And I think if you can try and keep changing that, and that's something that I keep trying to change within Adobe. I want to be the company that if somebody has a good idea and you have one executive who's willing to say yes, then we fund it. And that's very different, as we know, from other companies, but a model that VCs have pioneered.
Right. Now, it's never been more important for companies to build trust with customers and also stand for something bigger than their own businesses. What do you believe is the role companies should play?
Just to quickly, greatest companies in the world, and we celebrated 40 years last week, and 40 years, I think, in tech is one of those amazing accomplishments. We consider ourselves young, but there are very few companies. And I think at the end of the day, as all of you are starting companies, the advice that I would give you is think about your mission, think about your vision, but also think about purpose. And I believe that most people do their best work when they resonate with the vision of the company, but they also identify with the values of the company. And so I'll give you one example of what we are doing. As we all know, there's so much content that's being produced through Adobe software. We think a lot about what we call the Content Authenticity Initiative, which is how do you combat all of this misinformation that's happening, and by providing attribution, by using AI to understand when content has changed, by thinking about provenance, by partnering with distributors and people monetizing that content. So it's just one example of if you have a clear purpose, and at Adobe we say our purpose is creativity for all. Anybody who has a story to tell, we want them to tell that story. And we think about technology to transform. We all know technology transforms, BJ, but if you can think about it in terms of how it's doing good, because the biggest attribute that you have on your balance sheet is your relationship with customers. So we think about it. It's one of those things that takes decades to build up, but you can lose overnight if you do the wrong thing.
Fantastic. Now, Adobe is known for seeing around corners. What are the big paradigm shifts that you see in technology today?
Well, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, and I really feel like if I was starting my career right now, in addition to starting it in Hyderabad, I would really think about the confluence of what's happening between technology and healthcare. There are billions of people for whom personalized medicine is going to become a reality. I'm fortunate enough to serve on the board of Pfizer. And so as I think about artificial intelligence, at the end of the day, what computers do better than anybody else is that they pattern match. And I think medicine is also one of those areas where you're trying to find it. So of all the technology trends that I'm really excited about, if you haven't looked at some of the new things that people are talking about as it relates to generative AI and what all of these chip companies are doing, that's an area in particular that I think is fascinating, and an area where people are going to incubate a whole bunch of companies. And with the population of the world, I think there's going to be a significant amount of good that can be done and a significant amount of money that can be made.
Fantastic. Now, it's clear that digital has forever changed how businesses across industries deliver their services and engage with customers and partners. What are some of the key shifts businesses need to make to capitalize on the opportunities to drive growth in a fully digitalized world? And I know that Adobe partners with some of the biggest brands in the world. What are you seeing and hearing from these large customers?
Well, maybe two quick things. The first thing I would say is you have to know your customers. And I think, what digital enables you to do more than any other technology is know exactly who your customer is and deliver a personalized experience. So we call it personalization at scale. You were telling me about your startup, and what your startup is trying to do is with the entire housing market, how can you provide a service that's personalized? And so I think personalization is one of these things, because with digital you can create profiles and you can do an amazing job. And you talked about partnerships. The one area that we have partnered is Satya and I, we were one of the first companies to double down on Azure as a cloud. And I think together we're really working on making sure that we can enable every company to do it. And a company like Nike, for example, now uses it where they are engaging with every customer, so you can create your personalized shoe. So that's, I think, an example of it doesn't matter which industry you're in, if you're in the hospitality business, if you're in the telecommunications business, if you're in the healthcare business, if you don't know who your customer is, you're going to provide a generic service. And I think people's appetite for a generic service is non-existent.
Fantastic. So I'm going to close with my final question. It's going to be a little bit of a personal question. I know your parents live in Hyderabad. They're 92 and 87. What were they more proud of you for taking a 6 billion value company to close to 200 billion, or for having been awarded the Padma Shri?
Oh, without a question. I woke them up when I received the Padma Shri. I mean, again, it's one of these amazing things that, I was actually in Hawaii that night, and my phone kept ringing with a 415 number, which is a Bay Area number. And I wasn't answering the phone. And I guess it turns out that if you're a non-Indian citizen, I am an OCI, but if you're a non-Indian citizen, if you don't accept it, they actually don't put your name on the list. And so finally, after 11 phone calls, I answered it. But the first phone call I made was to my parents. And as a person of Indian origin, to get one of the highest awards of the land, I mean, what else could be as proud?
No, that's
But
fine.
hopefully, more than any of that, they will say I was a good son.
No, you've actually made the whole country proud, not just your parents. We are indeed privileged to have had you with us today. And by the way, it was not just your phone ringing. The Consul General was calling me as well at 4 in the morning saying, where is Shantanu? I can't get a hold of him. And so,
Thank you for giving him my number.
yeah, of course. Of course, yeah. But anyway, so KTR, any questions from you? Final questions before we wrap?
The only question, of course, I keep asking him. Of course, I think I asked it first up front. I want him to expand Adobe in Hyderabad. I think I've said it enough tonight. I think you don't want me saying it again. But of course, like he said, he's achieved amazing heights, in the technology world. And he was just telling me before we walked on stage how the next year, the next 1 decade or so is going to be India's, in terms of technology and what opportunities it presents. But my question to you, Shantanu, would be, I think we are in the learning curve, in the growth stage, possibly where the US was, say, 30 years ago or 25 years ago. So in terms of leapfrogging or in terms of literally pole vaulting, what do you suppose are the challenges that we as Indian entrepreneurs, Indian governments are going to run into over the next 1 decade? And how do we ensure that we learn from the best, that is the US and the West, in terms of ensuring that our entrepreneurs, our ecosystem thrives and does much better? What they've done in 30 years, how could we do that in the next 10 years?
Well, the first time that I had the pleasure of meeting you, I remember how both Jayesh and you were impatient. And I think being impatient for progress and being unreasonable and having unreasonable expectations is absolutely the way to go. I think 2 things that I've learned for entrepreneurship. The first is you have to celebrate failure as well. I think way too often we only talk about the successes. And as we know, the number of people when they're creating companies who have to change. And so I think that's one of these things. In the Bay Area, it is absolutely fine to know somebody who's tried and not necessarily succeeded, but learns from that experience. So I think how we can create a culture here in Hyderabad where, people who are willing to share the lessons that they've learned from mistakes, I think that's one thing if you can do with the community. But the second thing is, I think these are generational shifts, and the first generation, it was things to do with outsourcing. Then it was things to do with the Indian ecosystem, as you pointed out in your speech. I think the aspirations of Hyderabad and the entrepreneurs have to be that the world is their oyster and they're going to create global companies. And so the more I think you can, evangelize the successful companies, the one that you mentioned, Skyroot, trying to do what Vikram Sarabhai is doing, trying to do what they're doing in healthcare, the Krishi stuff and, helping with farming, sustainable energy and the work that's happening there. And so I know both of you have been tireless in doing that, but I think the more you do that, whether it's at Davos, whether it's at Thai conferences worldwide, I think people want to also follow successes. So thank you as well for your contributions in this space.
So I think with that, let's give our chief guest and our CEO of the year a standing ovation, please.
Shantanu Narayan and Mr. B.J. Arun, we thank you for joining us today. I now request Mr. Praveen Thailam, immediate past chairman TIE Global, to deliver the vote of thanks.
What a fantastic evening today in this beautiful city. I'd like to thank Honorable Minister Shri KTR Garu, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, the IT Secretary, Padma Shri Shantanu Narayan, we went to the same school, sir, and my mother-in-law taught at Vidyaranya for 40 years. TIE Global Chair BJ Arun, the TIE founders who are in the audience, TIE Global Trustees. Most importantly, the TIE is driven, we are a volunteer-driven organization. The charter members are the whole heart and soul of what we do and why we do in fostering entrepreneurship. Thanks to them, the TIE staff, the volunteers, plenty of them here. And lastly, our great summit chairs, Suresh Raju and Murli Bukkapatnam, and our fantastic sponsors and the partners without which we couldn't even dream of hosting such an event. Thank you again, and please kindly give a couple of minutes for our dignitaries on the stage to leave the venue before we proceed to the rest of the program. I think it starts with the golf awards and the music night later. Thank you very much.
May I very quickly invite all the TIE Global Board of Trustees, past and present, for a photo op. And we also humbly request Sri Saurabh Srivastava sir to join in for the photo op.